And welcome to Local Talk here on Next Door Radio, nextdoorradio.com, and the Next Door Radio app. My name is Trey Snyder. Phone number 919-618-9258, 919-618-9258. You can give us a call. Let us know what you think. We have a good show lined up for you here today. We have Byran Cohn in the studio with us as he is candidate for NC House. My friend, welcome to the studio. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Good morning, Trey.
Good morning to you. Kind of give, let's do a quick little introduction as best as only you could, and we'll kind of dive deep into why you decided to run and things like that.
Sure.
Let's do a quick little introduction as best as you can, if that's okay.
Absolutely. So obviously I'm Byran Cohn, current city commissioner here in Oxford, North Carolina, and running for House District 32, which represents all of Granville County and approximately half of Vance County. So Henderson north through the lake to the border.
Fantastic. Again, our phone number, once again, 919-618-9258. This is being live recorded. So if you missed any part of this program, you head back to our website at nextdoorradio.com. Go into the Local Talk podcast section, and it'll be sitting right there. So, Brian, talk a little bit about it. What motivates you to really engage into this kind of work? And again, it's not easy. We understand that. You're part of the commissioners here in Oxford, North Carolina. But what kind of motivates you and gets you excited to work in this kind of field?
That's a great question. Glutton for punishment, I think.
Yeah.
I guess. I think it starts with, well, one, I've always been interested in politics in general. I never thought I'd be a politician or public servant, as we prefer to say, but certainly the world of politics is not something I ever thought I would be entering into. Just wasn't really in my background necessarily. Growing up, my dad was a union man, and he led a union at Liggett Myers Tobacco in Durham, North Carolina. And watching him and how he interacted with the workers there at Liggett Myers and interacted politically through committees and other things, it taught me a lot. It taught me how to care for and understand the values and concerns that the people around us are concerned about, I guess. Representation and having proper representation. So that was a core value that stuck with me growing up. And then I think it was really the events of January 6th and watching that unfortunate display of mob mentality, people attacking the Capitol and attacking our democracy, just infuriated me. And I really thought, what can I do about it? I can get mad about it. I can raise Cain about it. But I figured the best thing I could do is run for office and try to at least show my kids that we can have respectful government. We can function as a society. And maybe if we just show that government can work and that we can get things done, that will help solve the problem. We won't have to see those types of things happen again. And so that's kind of what led us here today, is trying to right those wrongs and prove that government can work.
Fantastic. And Byran Cohn here, candidate for NC House on our Local Talk program here on Next Door Radio, nextdoorradio.com, the Next Door Radio app, 919-618-9258. So you mentioned a little bit about the decision to get into office and be a part of the government wise. So what are some of your key messages and some of the primary goals that you kind of want to highlight?
So as a Democratic candidate for House District 32, the first thing we're going to want to highlight is that right now we have a Republican supermajority in the North Carolina House of Representatives. We're going to break that supermajority, and the only way to do that is by winning House District 32. This is the most important race in North Carolina. How North Carolina will be governed and the look and the feel of the House of Representatives runs right through Granville and Vance County. So I don't take that lightly. I'm committed to safeguarding our core values of freedom. I'm running to counteract the restrictive agenda that's being put in place by the MAGA Republican supermajority in Raleigh. I think that it's important to restore the freedoms that define our state, the freedom to learn, to participate in a fair economy. So having appropriate upward mobility for all folks, particularly in the rural counties like Granville and Vance County, um, and to secure women's rights is a big part of this. Reproductive rights are a huge issue here in North Carolina, and that's something that we need to stand up and fight for this cycle. And all of those issues come to a head right here in this race in House District 32 in 2024.
Fantastic. And kind of go into your past career and your current career. List some of the accomplishments that you've received so far.
So, since I've been on the board, and that's the great thing about legislation, right? Being a legislator, as it were, you participate as a group. Um, I, as an individual, cannot get anything done necessarily. It is the group that gets things done. Our um, our body here in Oxford, our board of commissioners, has presided over some of the most progressive and important infrastructure work of any other city our size in the United States. Now, I know particularly everybody who comes to Oxford and drives around the roads and they hit the
Yeah.
potholes. I get it; it's aggravating, but
Yeah.
fair. But to be completely fair, the infrastructure, those sewer lines and water lines that are underground, deep under those roads, have been there. Some of them have been in place since right around 1900,
Wow.
and they're being replaced. One of the most equitable things we can do is provide clean, safe drinking water for the residents.
Absolutely.
We have engaged with our partners in Henderson and Warren County to expand the Carr Lake Regional Water Plant from 10 million gallons a day to 20 million gallons a day, work that's well underway, thanks to the hard work of our city engineers, our elected officials in this particular region to make that happen. We were probably one of the very first communities here in North Carolina post-pandemic to really address pay inequities within city staff,
Wow. Okay.
police and fire, public works, and all city departments, making sure that we are paying fairly so that we can retain the employees that we have and recruit new. Not an easy thing to do with our proximity to the Triangle, but we've been very aggressive in how we're addressing these things because Oxford is a growing town. A little over 8,700 residents currently. The next 2 years, that number is likely to rise by about 5,000.
Wow.
The next 5 to 10 years, it could be another 15,000 on top of that. So we're doing the work now to make sure that we're ready for that type of growth and make sure that we're going to be able to have infrastructure that our kids and grandkids and great grandkids can rely on for generations to come.
Fantastic. And candidate for NC House District 32, Byran Cohn, joins us here on our local talk program here on Next Door Radio. And kind of a lead way into your last statement right there. Talk a little bit more about the Pacific needs and a lot of things you hear through our website. Of course, the town hall meetings, our boardroom meetings, social media galore about what can we do for our youth and what can we do for the elder here locally. Kind of dive deep a little bit more into that if you can.
Yeah. So I will say there's a couple different philosophies here in terms of what I'll determine like retail recreation, movie theaters, skating rinks, things like that. Hear that one a lot. As comes the rooftops, comes to retail. So there is, just through basic economics, as our population grows, those type of amenities will come. I'm proud to say that, like in the city of Oxford, for example, we take our park and recreation department very seriously. We have recently begun and finished renovation of the Granville Street Park, reinstalling basketball courts, upgrading playground equipment, making sure that we have those appropriate community parks. So again, making sure that folks have access to recreation here in the city of Oxford. We're also upgrading and improving our infrastructure at Lake Devon, installation of new trails, new bridges. There'll eventually be a complete trail all the way around the lake, complete with disc golf courses and other amenities around there. So we take those things seriously, just in terms of being able to provide recreation for our youth and things to do. Obviously, we have world-class amenities with our baseball facilities out at Oxford Park. We are working on a strategic master plan for the Hicks complex, which is the City Hall complex, as well as the gymnasium and other areas where that will be over the next decade or so. That will be completely revamped. Our theater, if for those of you who don't know, City Hall is really in a performing arts center. It's not really, it just happens to have some city offices in it. Has a beautiful auditorium that we're sinking about $250,000 into, and upgraded lights and sound this year. And we'll be bringing shows in. We'll also be doing programming for kids, meaning that we'll have theater programs and things that they can participate in. So again, a lot of things we can do from youth level programming. And for our seniors, again, the expanded access to senior centers. I love going to the senior centers. Tell you what, our seniors are world class. They're a lot of fun to hang out with. They tell you like it is.
That's right.
And get me rolling. I just spent about a half a day at the senior center up in Vance County, and I love those. I love those folks. They're a lot of fun to hang out with. But having access to those type of facilities where seniors can have a place, a meal, have access to resources that can point them in the right direction with things they might need around, you know, Medicaid, Medicare, answering questions, having those resources available. So making sure, it's within a rural community, we got to have those facilities well spaced out, well funded. And that's, one of the things really coming down from the state level is making sure that we're providing the right level of funding to the counties so that we can provide those senior services and have world-class facilities for them to be able to go to and take advantage of all the resources that can be offered.
Fantastic. Again, candidate for NC House District 32, Byran Cohn joins us here on our local talk program here on Next Door Radio. As we move along, if you want to be a part of our video stream, you can shoot us a chat. I will be happy to answer that, or you can give us a call at 919-618-9258. Also, you can shoot us an email at contact@nextdoorradio.com, and we'll be able to give those questions to Byran as well. You've kind of expressed over the last year or two regarding the concerns with the education in North Carolina.
Correct.
Could you really dive deep into that and kind of give more observation with that?
Let me be as clear as I possibly can when it comes to education. Public dollars belong in public schools. Full stop, period, end of sentence. What we're witnessing is the dismantling of the North Carolina public school system. I'm a product of the public school system. It is a part of our state constitution that we provide a sound and basic education to all students in the state of North Carolina, and we are falling short of that goal. During during the last session, the state of North Carolina, the Republican supermajority voted to expand voucher access for private schools, which means we're taking public dollars and giving it to individuals to pay for private school. Now, the idea, the facade here is that is a freedom of choice. We can send our kids where we want. That's not really true. If I was going to send my kids down to Durham Academy, down in Durham, that's about approximately a $20,000 a year expense per head, per child. Vouchers programs would give me $7,000. What it is a tax break for the rich to pay for their kids to go to private schools at the expense of North Carolina public schools. That particular voucher program will siphon off over $1 million out of the coffers of Granville County schools, and approximately $750,000 to $1 million out of Vance County schools. Dollars that can be used for paying teachers, upgrading maintenance within our schools. A lot of folks don't realize a lot of our facilities, particularly here in Granville County, are Eisenhower era buildings. The maintenance backlog on our schools is approximately $50 million. And I'm not talking building new facilities or adding on to facilities. I'm talking maintenance upkeep.
Just the basics.
Just the basic $50 million backlog. You know what the budget is in Granville County for maintenance?
I couldn't even tell you.
Not very much. Little over $1.5 million.
Wow.
That's a lot to make up when you got $1.5 million to work with and you got a $50 million backlog. Yeah. And those are the type of issues we're seeing, not just here in Granville County, Vance County, but rural North Carolina counties trying to maintain aging infrastructure in some cases 50, 60, some cases 70 years old. we have to make sure we're properly funding our schools just for the basic maintenance,
Yeah.
let alone the teacher pay, let alone having the appropriate level of assistance and uh, caseworkers and other vital roles that are important to our schools. We were able to supplement with COVID dollars, but a lot of that's going away. Those programs are ending post COVID, and now we're in Granville and Vance County, we'll be losing resources because those dollars are going away, and the state ought to be stepping up and funding those programs long term. So we have caseworkers and we have those teacher assistants, and we are bringing in world class teachers from all over the state. Um, we're not doing that, and it's a disservice to all the children here in North
Yeah.
Carolina.
So how do we get there? You had the opportunity to become the next, District 32, District 32 NC House, and not throw you off guard here, but how do we get there? Where do we go?
It's how we structure the budget.
Okay.
Education and healthcare happen to be two of the largest expenses in the state budget. So we had to make sure that we are appropriately funding our schools, eliminating the voucher program for one, put the money back where it belongs. We got to stop robbing the piggy bank. So just like, I'll equate it to any injury or something along those lines. You got to stop the bleeding. We got to stabilize the patient in a sense. So we got to make sure that the dollars that we do have, we are protecting, and that we are getting those dollars to where they're most needed within our public schools. That's step one. Step two, we had to look at how we fund our state budget and make sure that we have the appropriate level of revenues coming in. And I'm not talking about tax raises. The Republican Party has found ways to cut taxes repeatedly here in North Carolina, and it's having a detrimental impact on the budget. Historically, we've run surpluses in the state of North Carolina, and over the next two budget cycles, we will start running deficits because they've cut so deep on the revenues with tax breaks for industry, tax breaks for the wealthy. The lowest, the poorest North Carolinians are paying the most in taxes. Everything that we're bringing in revenue is on the backs of the ones who can't afford it. So we got to look at how we're bringing in revenue. And being very strategic with those dollars to make sure that they are going to the infrastructure projects within NCDOT, that they're going to the schools, and they're going to maintain, our healthcare systems here in North Carolina.
Fantastic. Byran Cohn, candidate for District 32 NC House, joins us on our local talk program. Again, our phone number 919-618-9258. You hear about it on the news, the newspapers, of course, local radio, about the crime here in North Carolina. Talk a little bit more about that. What is your need to kind of fix that? Or can you help that?
It's a systemic issue. And I don't think it's sort of siloed. We look at rural counties in particular, and even in urban areas. Crime is a product a lot of times of the environment. If we're talking young folks, let's say, what opportunities do people have for upward mobility? So we have to look at addressing, like, what if I go to school and I graduate 12th grade? Do I have opportunities coming out of high school to be gainfully employed and have a well balanced life? Answer is no. I mean, you can go to college and rack up a huge amount of college debt and go get a job that won't cover that debt. It's kind of where we're at. So I can see how folks go from, well, no opportunity, no hope, and being pulled into a world where they're involved in gang violence, drug activity, things of that nature, because there is this monetary gain there. So providing the appropriate level of opportunities through vocational training and making sure that education means something that carries value for our young folks goes a long way. Second thing we want to take a look at is how we prosecute certain crimes. If you are under the age of 18 and you go out and rob a store, get into a fight, discharge a weapon, something along those lines, chances are you're going to be let off with a slap on the wrist, with no type of intervention at all. Idea being, with the way the laws are currently written, to try to divert youth from going to jail or prison. Well, I think we need to kind of address that a little bit. I'm not saying that people need to be wrapped up and thrown into jail or prison, but we need to have better diversionary programs, better options for our prosecutors and our district attorneys to help combat this issue. Because tell you right now, we've had instances here in Oxford dealing with youth gang violence and gun violence, where those folks are picked up, arrested, taken to Granville County Jail, and before the police officers are back at the station, if the reports, those kids are out. And that's a problem because it demonstrates that there are no consequences. So we got to make sure that we have consequences, but those consequences ought not be, we're just going to lock you up for 15 years. It's, we have to make sure that we provide some type of diversionary program, some opportunity to correct the behavior, particularly for kids under the age of 18, so that we can hopefully get them on a track to be productive members of society.
Fantastic. Moving forward regarding the GOTV, which get out the vote efforts and the door knocking, explain your plan for that, especially with the districting challenges that we're facing.
Yeah, District 32 has been redrawn quite a lot with the amount of gerrymandering that's taken place in our state legislative maps. So we're going to have an aggressive ground campaign this year, knock on doors. We knocked on 700 doors last Saturday.
Wow.
And we will continue that pace between now and election day. Primarily to, introduce myself to voters, but also let folks understand who it is they're voting for. If I'm in the south side of Granville County has historically not been part of House District 32. So, introducing ourselves and making sure people understand what voting district they're in, what legislative district they're in, working with volunteers. So it's going to be a precinct by precinct effort here in Vance and Granville County. We've got a small army of volunteers mobilized, and we will continue to knock doors, introduce ourselves to folks. We will be doing precinct meetings with all the precinct captains, again, talking about the issues that matter to them specifically in their precinct, and, just listening to voters, understanding what matters to them in their communities. I want to know what's happening in Middleburg. I want to know what's happening in Stovall. I want to know what's happening in Berea, Creedmoor, Butner, Oxford, Henderson. What matters to the voters in those places? How can we better represent you in Raleigh?
Fantastic. And now let's kind of get into more of the personal side. Talk a little bit about you and talk about your background and kind of most of your hobbies. We've talked a lot about the hard stuff. Let's get the fun stuff out of the way here.
Yeah. So I live here in Oxford. I've long been accused of being an outsider, but let's set the record straight on that. I've had a direct family member living in the city of Oxford since before the United States was a country. My family comes from the Henderson and Granville County area. My mother's side of the family, especially my wife's side of the family, both sides of the family are from Henderson. We were married at First Methodist in downtown Henderson 15 years ago this June. I grew up on, hanging out with my grandparents every single weekend, going to church, learning to ride my big wheel and my bike, and eventually drive a car going down Roland Avenue in Henderson, much to the probably chagrin of everyone who lived on that street. And hanging out at the lake, and my roots are here in Granville and Vance County. So this is home. I'm proud that my wife and I are raising our 3 kids here. It's a lot of fun. It's nice to be in a small knit community where we can, know our neighbors, have our kids be able to play on the sidewalk, go see their friends, things of that nature. So we absolutely love living here. In terms of hobby, I tell you what, when you're a dad, your hobbies are your kids.
There you go.
You know how that is, right? So as
baseball is here,
whatever they're doing, I'm doing.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how that goes. And we're kind of coming to my favorite time of year. I'll go hang out at the pool and during the summer and just let the kids go wild. But I think for me, if I can get into my wood shop and do anything with some lumber, I'm a happy camper. Um, Never idle. We're in the process of opening a restaurant and a business here in downtown Oxford as well. Something that we're very proud of. And one of the key goals when my business partner and I decided to open a restaurant, and it's currently under construction, is to use all local vendors. So every dollar we're spending is being spent right here in Granville County, with local contractors, local labor. So we're trying to made it our mission to really kind of make sure that anything we're doing is, put our money where our mouth is, representing the community. And by the time all is said and done, between the purchase of the property and all the construction and so forth, we'll probably be close to $1 million invested. But that money will go right back into the community. So those are little things that make me happy, and occupy my time when I'm not, being a city commissioner or running for office or running between soccer games and baseball games and the pool and everywhere else we got, everything else we got going on.
There you go. And final question for my friend. We're going to welcome you back here before we know it, to kind of get you back in and really dive deep a little bit more into some details. But what are some of the events and things and programs that you have coming up or that you're involved in that you would like for our listeners to hear?
Absolutely. So first, I'd recommend everyone go to our website, which is Byran4, the number 4NC .com. We all of our events and information there. You can also find us on Facebook at Byran4NC. We try to do a good job of posting that information, but we've got upcoming events. Let's see. A week from today, we will have a campaign fundraiser kickoff up in Stovall, in northern Granville County. I should have quite a few folks there. Leader Reeves from the North Carolina House of Representatives will be with us, along with some other folks. Senator Mary Wills Bodie will be with us at that event. So looking forward to seeing a lot of folks out there next week. We've got the Black Leadership Caucus this Saturday, April 20th, coming up in Henderson. So looking forward to going and speaking at that event and meeting folks over in Henderson. First Saturday in May, we'll be doing more door knocking, both and my campaign manager, if he was here, to keep me honest, but I believe we're doing both Vance and Granville County that weekend, probably a Saturday Sunday combo, knocking doors and talking with folks. So we're super excited about that, and we'll have more events upcoming across both counties and the Triangle over there. I mean, probably every single Saturday from here on out is going to be slap full. So.
Yeah. Well, fantastic, my friend. This is the part of the program where we like to really welcome the floor. Last couple of minutes is yours. Anything that we haven't discussed here today, or anything you have in your mind that you want to get off your chest?
Yeah, I would say that one of the key elements of this race, as I mentioned earlier, there's going to be a lot of focus on Vance and Granville County this year, because it's a big race for both the Republicans and the Democrats. This is an important piece of territory. But what I don't want to get lost in all of this is how important this is to you, the individual folks who live here. The things that matter to you, those are the things that I care about. Yes, we have huge issues that will impact all of North Carolina, and that is, part of being a state representative, is making sure that we're taking care of all North Carolinians. But we need to be focused on the projects and the policies that will affect the folks who live in Henderson and Oxford and Creedmoor and Butner and Middleburg and Stovall and Berea and all points in between. We have huge opportunities, and we have begun those opportunities at the local level across this district with, again, infrastructure upgrades. We have the S line, which will be part of a high-speed rail project that will connect Raleigh with Richmond and the Northeast Corridor, that will have stops in downtown Henderson, which will have huge economic upward mobility, thanks to the Biden administration, and thanks to Valerie Foushee and Congressman Price and other folks. We were able to get the Car Lake Regional Water Plant rebuilt. We have a lot of projects going on. So there's a lot of things that we need to focus on here. For too long, we have been forgotten. And we need to make sure that we have a seat at the table and that we're advocating for the folks who live in Vance and Granville County and making sure that we have the resources we need to thrive. And that's really what I want this election to be about and what I'm the most concerned about. So look forward to meeting everyone throughout the campaign. Like I said, my big goal is to touch as many doors and shake as many hands and talk to as many folks as we possibly can, because this is about you, not about me.
Fantastic. Well, my friend, God bless you. Thank you so much for being a part of our local talk program here today. Good luck the rest of the way. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Absolutely. Yeah. Again, my name is Trace Nine. On behalf of our local talk program, he is Byran Cohn. He is candidate for NC House District 32. If you missed any part of our program here today, make sure to head over to our website at nextdoorradio.com. Go under the local talk podcast section, and it'll be sitting right there immediately following this video here. Until next time, God bless. We will see you later.
You are listening to Next Door Radio on the